HeroScape has like a HeroScapers.com. Granted, it's aged, but it's still the community hub. Are you guys planning to create some type of website community hub like HeroScapers.com?
Yeah, so
it'll be much more involved. The idea behind it is, one, you'll have tools for creating maps, creating cards, creating rule books. You'll have collaborative tools for asking for feedback. You'll have collaborative tools for allowing people to branch off of your rulebook. And the first one that'll be on there will be the TimeStrike rulebook. So if you want to take our rulebook and you already have your own ideas, you'll be able to branch off of it. We'll build a way that you can see what creators have come up with whatever ideas. You know, the first thing I could see people doing is like, oh, TimeStrike, you know, but no rolling. And they have their own rule book and set, so that you can kind of easily look through the community, and there will be voting systems. And there's a lot that needs to be fleshed out, obviously, with the depth and complexity that we want there. But yeah, no, you'll have, that's one of the driving forces of the app.
Yeah, if you're familiar with like Git in software engineering, where you can actually pull requests against someone's rules, and if you think you have a better rule, maybe you can convince them and actually change the rules. Some of those features that come along with, you know, the open source power of Git were things we thought, well, why not just do that with rules?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
why can't every rule for every game be open? If you can maybe convince us that a rule needs to change for TimeStrike as a whole, and then convince everybody and everybody votes, well, maybe. It's possible that
I'm sure you'll have candidates.
Yeah, your community may have a better way to do things. And you never know until you do it.
Yeah.
You don't know.
This is also part of that pathway that I talked about for independent creators. I think specifically for the custom community, what I've noticed lacking today from most tabletop games is there's no pathway for your custom, you know, community created unit or character or rule set to become official canon, to become released by said publisher. And why not? You know, if the community votes and they think it's best, then I think that publishers should be listening to that community. So this hub, this central place where you'll come together and you'll share ideas like this, will also be a place where the community can kind of vote, whether you're creating a custom miniature, let's say a character, and the community votes by buying it. We'll be able to let the market choose. Okay, look, everybody's been buying up this miniature and this character. They must love it. Let's release it in the next box. Let's make it official. So there's going to be like I said, a pathway there to sort of take custom stuff and start to allow it to become official stuff, whether it's, you know, in tournaments or you name it. I think that's super important. We want the community to be able to create their own stuff, and we want them to see that stuff not only become profitable for them, but part of the official game.
You mentioned like create a character. Is there some kind of like character builder system that's going to be developed, or what's kind of, is there a?
Yeah, we already have one as far as like how we scale like each point and, you know, how it balances the character in general. Yeah, no, I've already got one of those set up. For sure, which I'll see if we can have that like available for the Kickstarter for people to go play around and build their own characters real quick. Yeah.
I was about to say, how soon do you think this would be up and running?
Yeah, I'm most excited for this of everything going on right now. I tell Tony all the time, it's like, give it to me because I want to use it, because it's just balanced, right? The characters you create on that should come out balanced for the game, which is
it's hard because of the skill. There, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of just like, okay, I guess this is worth this, you know, because the skills are really something difficult to say, you know, what, you know, if this character can, you know, throw someone off a mountain, how strong is that? You know, it's like if you're playing a flat map, it's not. You know, if you're playing a really tall map, it is. So there will be some, you know, variants that you can put in on your own. But yeah, there will be something that you can play with and see kind of how we envisioned our characters and how we made them.
That's and the thing I love there too is you get this capability of also having the players play the infinite combinations, and the infinite combinations, they may find the most overpowered thing imaginable because they just will. That's just how the game works.
Meta it. Yeah.
And the cool part is if we get this application done, they can come back and say, hey, this is so outrageously overpowered, here's my suggestion to fix it. And then everybody in the community be like, okay, cool. Unlike so many other games we've played, I've got a pile of board games on the shelf over here where I know the optimal strategies already because I know the most overpowered thing. And that, for me, ruins the game. Because then I can sit down, I'm like, I'm gonna win every time, regardless of who I play with. Just because I know that these 5 things make this. But as a community, we all care about like the tournament play, which we haven't really talked about that much here. Is the tournament play, if someone comes into it knowing the most overpowered thing in the universe, well then we as a community have to sit back and say, well no, you can't just go like Magic the Gathering, we're gonna ban these cards. No, you can't just ban the cards. You have to sit back and say, okay, cool, let's modify each of these things as a whole community so that we get to a point where the game is balanced. And we can all communicate that whole way through. Unlike so many other games we played, there's no back and forth. There's none. And that's the coolest thing I love about this is the community can say, hey, this thing sucks. Fix it. And we might have to sit back and say,
one way to put
okay,
it.
cool.
Community
Or we can
is
say,
not
no,
shy
you're
about
wrong.
doing that either.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah, I think the critical message that I would send to people is that this app is not just for them to share, it's also for us to learn. And it's also for us to share as well. And something that we said years ago was like, what if you could patch a rule book for tabletop games? How would that happen? And we think that the Source app will play a pivotal role in that, where we say, well, you got 1.0 with your box of TimeStrike that you got, but guess what? There's a 1.1 where we made minor changes. You can go to the Source app and you can download it, and now you can play 1.1 or 1.5 or 2.0, and all of a sudden you have rule sets that are evolving, that are getting patched, and now we're treating this and we're kind of bridging, and I think that's a big vision of what we've had for a long time. We're bridging the digital world and the tabletop world while keeping the tactileness and the bringing of people together, and that's something that we just value so heavily. You know, even sometimes I suggest to Chris, like, what about a mobile app that goes with the game? And he's like, but then they're looking at the app. So we're like, really, you know, we probably will do it one day. I'm not going to say we won't, but right now it's just really near and dear to us that we want people not to be in their phones, maybe after the game when they're updating scores or something like that, but not while they're in the moment. And yeah, this app is not just for us to take, it's for us to give and for us to share, and it's a adventure together.
Maybe someday you'll make a hologram version.
It's like
I
you
admire
read
the.
We've talked about lots of things.
I admire the humility it takes just to, you know, be willing to say, you know what, the community as a whole can help us. You know, we'll give you access to some of our secret sauce, and you can improve it. You know, I think that's really incredible because it's tough to figure out that stuff as a fan sometimes.
I can tell you that TimeStrike has gone through about 26 iterations, I think I'm on now, and it took me a while to figure out how to take feedback. And now, and after I got to the point where I was like, I understand how to took feedback, because feedback isn't always like, they're just like, well, I don't like this and you should get rid of it. And it comes down to like, all right, what was their experience that caused them not to like this mechanic? And as I learned to kind of figure that out, the game's gotten progressively better and better and better. And yeah, that's just something as a team that we've learned, is just that the community will tell you what they want. You know, it's literally one of the craziest things that we realize is like the community's always telling you what they want. And everybody's always, all these publishers are like, well, what do you think the community, what do tabletop gamers want? And literally, it's everywhere. It's plastered all over the internet.
Just listen.
And, just listen.
Directly telling you what they want. So I think that I think we're uniquely gonna listen better than any publisher you've come across, because that's the brand. That is what the brand's all about. The brand is about, this is a dialogue between us and a community of players. This is not us sitting around cooking up what we think the next greatest thing is and then surprising you with it and then going, we'll hope you like it because we're done. it can't be that way. Like we know, and this is Nick was talking about earlier, but Warcraft 3 was a huge inspiration because they had that custom map builder on there, and that was sort of my first exposure to like community games being created. And I remember I would just play countless hours. All the biggest titles that are out now in video gaming were basically created in Warcraft 3 custom maps, and Blizzard totally missed it. Just weren't paying attention. And I think that uniquely, it's like, yeah, we could sit around and try and cook up the next best thing, or we could just ask. Or you just reach out and go, hey, players of our games, what do you want? There you go.
Here's tools to come up with ideas.
We're here to serve you. That's how this works. That's how business is supposed to work. It's supposed to be a relationship and a two-way conversation. And I hope that if there's anything we're remembered for after 10, 15, 20 years in business, it'll be that. It's that we kind of taught the industry that the players are talking, start listening.